Welcome to another episode of Chax Chat. Join Chad Chelius and me, Dax Castro, where each week we wax poetic about document accessibility topics, tips, and the struggle of remediation and compliance. So sit back, grab your favorite mug of whatever, and let's get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the Chax Chat podcast. My name is Chad Chelius. I'm an Adobe certified instructor and one of the accessibility wizards here at Chax Training and Consulting.
And my name is Dax Castro. I am also one of the accessibility wizards here at Chax Training and Consulting. And Chad and I are both certified as accessible document specialists by the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. And if you'd like your certification, head on over to accessibilityassociation.org and click on certifications to get more information about that. Chad, Happy New Year, man. How are you?
Happy New Year, 2026.
Oh, dude,
right?
time is just
weird
flying
to say.
by.
I know.
It is.
I know.
Wow. It was like August, and then all of a sudden it was January.
Yeah.
Like just crazy. So
yeah. And I know here in the Northeast, it's been really cold. It's, I haven't been outside on the bike in forever, which is driving me crazy. Yeah.
I'm growing carrots in my garden under a dome. I took my big monster bed that I built last year and I built a PVC covering over the top of it and covered it with a plastic sheeting, and the carrots are growing crazy. They're doing really well. Not a lot of carrot, like I'm not seeing the tops of the orange carrot yet. I mean, I've got a lot of greenery, lots of greenery going, but I'm not seeing the carrot part develop a lot. And maybe that's just because of the temperature, but they're definitely growing well. So be interesting to see how they are come spring. So
that's great. My son came home and he made a dish where he chopped up the carrot greens.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I've never had that before. Yeah. Right.
You can make carrot green pesto.
Yeah. I mean, it was delicious. It was, I would have never even thought about, usually I just cut it off and throw it away. I don't even think twice about it, but he made a really, really tasty dish. It was really good.
Awesome. Well, today I thought we would talk about, kind of a year looking behind and a year looking ahead. So what did we, what are some of the things we that were notable for the 2025 as it's outgoing? And what are some of the things for 2026 that we are looking forward to? So the first question I would say is, what do you think has been the most recurring theme in accessibility struggles that our clients or attendees have had in the past year? And I was thinking about this question, Chad, and I think for me, it always comes back to two things: tables and forms. It just seems like people struggle the most with tables and forms. And I can understand why, but it's a shame why. Yeah. And I think, and I'll ask you, why do you think that is? What do you think is the reason that forms and tables are the harder challenges?
I think when it comes to tables, right? I mean, I really feel like people don't take the time to understand the table structure. Yes. Right. Because, when you break it apart, I mean, tables are not super complicated. I mean, the most granular piece of a table is a cell, right? And the cell could be one of two types, a TH or a TD. And then those cells are organized into a row, right? And so then you have how many rows are in the table. And then the number of cells in the row equals the number of columns, right? And I know as I'm talking about this, it sounds simple, but I know it is a little more complicated than that. And then all your rows are organized into a table, right? Now, as you delve into it a little bit further, what makes it more complicated, I think, for people is when you have merged cells, right? So you merge a bunch of columns across the table, or you merge a bunch of the rows up and down in the table. I will not argue that certainly gets complicated, right? But I think once you understand it, once you've taken the time to understand, like, oh, this is how this table needs to express itself. You know what I mean? Like, so we have one cell that really occupies this many rows, or you have one cell that really occupies this many columns, right? And I mean, I could tell you, like you and I, Dax, you could hand me 50 cells and I could organize it into a table however you want it configured, because we understand the principles of the table. And so I really feel like for most people, I guess if I would give anybody any guidance, it's to simply sit down and really just try to understand how a table is structured. And then once you understand that, try to understand what a column span and a row span does within that table, right? And, again, I haven't met a table that I wasn't able to make compliant, right? You know what I mean?
Well, I think, and you touched on this in your comment, Chad, is that it's about understanding the relationship of the data in the table. Yeah. And I think that's where people where they fall short, is they get that it's a grid. They get that it's columns and rows. And honestly, nowadays, Word and InDesign, mostly PowerPoint's still working on it, but Word and InDesign can export any table in any configuration you make it with the correct TH and TD structure. Merge cells, no problem, to a PDF. It will give you the right column span or row span. The structure will be solid, but it's the relationship between that row or column header and the data where people have this gap, and they don't understand how a table where column 1 and column 2 are row headers that describe the items to the right of it, and then row 1 and row 2 are column headers that describe the items below it. And they don't understand that relationship very well. And that's when the tables start to become more difficult, because it's pretty easy to solve setting scope, which is this a column header or a row header? You yep. really only have 3 choices: column, row, or both. And it's really not hard. You either going left to right or top to bottom, and that's it. I mean, like you said, Chad, as a principle, it's not hard to understand, but it's really hard to implement if you don't understand the relationship between the header and the data cell.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And again, I mean, you and I say this over and over again. I encourage everybody to evaluate their tables and see if you can make them simpler. Right. Because, a lot of times people are in an environment where, their organization has been using a table a certain way for 15, 20 years, you know what I mean?
Tetris methodology.
Oh my God. And like, I highly encourage people, ask the question, does this table need to be this complicated, or is there a better way that we can simplify it? It's only going to make your life easier. Right. And it's only going to make everybody's life easier too. Because you and I have encountered situations, Dax, where tables, even though a table is set up correctly, it reads incorrectly in a screen reader.
Right.
And we're not going to go. I don't want to dive too deep into that. We'll go down a rabbit hole with that. But so whenever you can, think about how you can simplify your table and just make it easier. And it doesn't just make it easier for you as the remediator. It makes it easier for the user who's actually reading that content.
Whether you're using assistive technology or you're just visually looking at a table, I've seen tables where I have a hard time following visually where the data is how I'm supposed to align this thing. The column headers stop about halfway down and then start up again. And you got this section only belongs to the bottom half and all sorts of crazy stuff. So, yeah. So the other one is forms. Right? Yeah. And so from a form standpoint, the reason I believe forms are so hard has nothing to do with anything other than Adobe falling short.
I was just going to say, I blame Acrobat, right?
100%. Acrobat team, if you're listening, I'm calling you on the carpet.
Yeah.
Because you have a tool inside Acrobat that hasn't worked for a decade. The auto detect form fields, or identify form fields button inside the accessibility tab has never worked. And it should. It should be able to, once you've run the form field recognition and it adds your form fields, your form objects, then you should be able to go into the accessibility tab, which you can do now, and press identify form fields, and it should find every one of those form OBJRs and dump them into the location they exist in the current stream. And it doesn't do anything. You press that button and nothing happens.
I mean, I even feel, Dax, like I don't know what harm could be created if Acrobat just automatically tagged every form field that I create.
Yep.
Right. Like, I don't think it's going to hurt anything if it's tagged. Right. I mean, if the user's, even if the user's not even intending to make their form accessible, is not going to hurt anything.
Nope.
Right. But it would really make our jobs a lot easier. Right. It would make teaching people how to do it a lot easier. And it would actually make building the form a lot easier as well.
Well, I was watching an Adobe tutorial from Adobe themselves on how to create a form, and it was arduous. Find untagged annotation, and then create the unmarked annotation, and then it creates a form OBJR in a folder at the bottom, and then you take that folder and move it up and do that 100 times for the 100 form fields. God help you if you've got a bunch of medical checkboxes that you've got to then put into the right order. You're in for a world of pain, and it's just it shouldn't have to be that way, because I know what I've learned. For those of you listening, Common Look has a great feature that can get you pretty far. Start with auto detect form fields to get your form OBJRs in just on the page so that you can see the form fields, and then open the Common Look PDF and then run the checker. Just run the checker. Don't do anything else. Run the checker. Checker's going to say, hey, you got a bunch of untagged annotations here. Do you want us to try to figure out where these go and put them in the right order? And I'm like, please, can you?
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. And if your form is generally visually formatted in a way that is logical in structure, label, form field, and not the little tiny text in the upper left-hand corner of some table cell, it does a pretty good job. It doesn't always get it right, but even if it got me 50% or 70% of the way there, that's so much better than where I was before.
Yeah. I mean, it's still better than doing the whole thing manually, right? I mean, I've had forms where there's like 50 form fields on a page.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a lot of work. And I mean, I'm very comfortable in the tags tree. And I know not everybody is. I know some people really struggle with, kind of orienting themselves within that tags tree. But even feeling comfortable, it's just a lot of work. It's time. It's a lot of effort, and it's definitely not ideal.
Well, and then there's a lot of people don't even know it's a barrier, because they do the auto detect form fields and they use the tab field, and they're able to tab through all their form fields. They check the order and they're like, hey, I'm good. And they don't understand that those form fields, just because you can tab through them, if they don't appear in the tags tree, they're not integrated with the content for the screen reader user. So you better hope that you have absolutely tagged every one of those form fields with the right tooltip and the right value, and that they don't need to know anything else besides what's inside that form field property, because they're not going to be able to bounce back and forth like we can as visual users to hear the content or on the page and then the form field that's associated with it. So I think that's, it's a convoluted process that could be solved, and having to buy an extra program to solve it just seems excessive. The program should work. Acrobat should work. So Acrobat team, set yourself a goal for 2026. Fix the freaking form field. Right?
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Awesome. So, Chad, looking back as well, what's been your hardest accessibility challenge this past year? What project have you struggled with the most? Is there one that stands out for you that you were like, man, I'm so glad I solved this? Because I know we don't ever find a challenge we can't solve, but some are very, your proud papa moment when you put that final stamp of of approval on?
I would say, and I have to give the kudos in this case to Adobe InDesign, right? Because I did a project. It was 3 documents totaling 800 pages, right? So a lot of content, like a really lot of content. And I think I'm so proud of this because I do it every month, right? And with Made to Tag in conjunction with Adobe InDesign, 800 pages takes me about 3 hours to complete. Right. And I think in the big picture, that's a really good, win. You know what I mean? And again, like I'm leveraging another tool to help me get there. But you know, we've also made some adjustments throughout the process. Like one of the ones that was getting me was they were using rule above, rule below to put a background behind the heading.
Okay, sure.
And if you guys, you should check out the article that I wrote on our website, which is about the pack checker. And you might know if you read that the rule above, rule below, it creates that behavior by adding a stroke behind the text. And the pack checker doesn't recognize strokes.
Right.
And all of those strokes become untagged paths. Right. And so we made an adjustment, Dax, where we're now using paragraph shading.
Right.
And shading uses a fill. And so it really eliminated a ton of problems. So I think that's one that I think I'm most proud of, you know, that I've worked on this year. There've been several though, I would say, fortunately they're all in Adobe InDesign. So my reward level is very high.
Awesome.
How about you?
Well, I would say my standout really isn't one that I worked on, but one that I evaluated and passed on to our remediation team. So this was a document that was 500 pages of solid math formulas. This was an engineering exam that was the most complex association of charts and diagrams and mathematical formulas and computations. The whole thing was just page after page after page. And what I had done is the client had brought the document to us, and I spent 4 hours evaluating, documenting, testing the document with a screen reader to figure out where the barriers were. It had lots of X sub 2 plus this over that, all sorts of different symbols. And sometimes one symbol would voice a certain way and it might voice differently the next way. The letter X was sometimes a variable, but other times it was the multiplier. And so lots of different charts and diagrams. So I had to go through and literally chart out exactly what the level of effort was going to be for this entire document. And then we won the job. The job was $15,000 for this project because it was so complex. Everything was going to be manually done. And our remediation team, kudos to them, man, because they just did an amazing job working through each of the different pages and the different sections and making it a good user experience, and really, really shined for this client, because the client was struggling because the state was requiring their testing material to be accessible. And they're like, how do we go about this? So I think that's the one I'm most proud of, even though I really kind of just started pushing the ball down the hill and the rest of our team kind of took it on. But it was a great evaluation.
Can you share with everybody what the solution was? So how did you solve for those equations?
So part of it was a use of actual text. Part of it was understanding the barriers and where you could literally just leave it live text or make it live text rather than an image. Many times it was writing complex alt text or creating an accessible table alternative for some of the more complex charts and diagrams. And then some of it was MathML, being able to give the user the MathML that they could then put into a MathML viewer and be able to get an equation they could manipulate and walk through. On that note, I'm actually excited that that NVDA is really working hard to try to incorporate MathML readers into NVDA, but they're still not quite there yet. So that's something I'm looking forward to for the future.
For next year, right?
I've kind of spilled the beans on what I'm looking forward to in the future, but yeah, that's it. So I think that would be going there. We might as well just skip to that. Is Chad, what are you looking forward to for the future of accessibility moving forward for 2026? Is there any new technology or new approach that you're trying to do, or a new perspective that you've been thinking about looking forward in 2026?
You and I attend a lot of conferences. We speak at most of them. You know, the hot topic at a lot of these conferences is AI. Right. Everybody, there's all these sessions on AI. There's all these, and a lot of it's prognostication though, right? Like, it's not like it's here. It's like, hey, this is what AI could do for us in theory,
right.
And that's all well and good. I mean, I love to hear about ideas that people have. I mean, I feel like the most concrete area that I've seen AI be used to date is in, alternate text for images, right? I mean, that's one of the areas where AI can actually be leveraged and be useful. I don't know. I feel like AI, I don't know that we're going to see anything significant in 2026, right? I just don't know that it's there. I don't know that it's ready. I feel like document remediation is a little too complicated. Like I said, everybody wants it to be a thing. I just don't know that it's going to be there. So I feel like I'm kind of like giving you the opposite of what you asked for, right?
It's okay.
You asked me like what I'm most looking forward to. I guess in theory, I mean, I'd look forward to AI being able to help us, with making our document accessible. I think I'm just a little hesitant to believe that we're quite there yet. You know what I mean?
Well, I will say, so Be My Eyes, for those of you who don't know, is an app that allows, it's crowdsourced volunteering for people who are blind. So there are about, I don't know, I want to say it's 300,000 users of the app and about 1 million volunteers. So if I'm blind, I can download this app, and if I throw two pieces of clothing on the bed and I forget which one is the green one that I want to put on, I can call up some person at random and say, hey, which one of these is my green shirt? And they would turn my camera on and say, point your camera this way, and tell me, oh, the one on the right is the one that's green. They won the 2025 Cultural Impact Award by Apple for the App Store. In fact, there were 2 million apps worldwide on the Apple Store, and only 12 honorees are selected each year. And so they were one of the 12 that got awarded. What I'm looking forward to is Be My AI is their AI version of Be My Eyes. So instead of relying on the crowdsourcing, they're relying on AI to be that instant. So I've used Be My Eyes as a volunteer a couple of 3 times. Twice I had issues with either their camera wouldn't turn on or the call got disconnected. I've only successfully been able to be help for someone 1 time in the 3 times I've used it. I got to believe that's a common situation. And so having Be My AI will remove that barrier, and I think reduce the barrier, if nothing else. And so as a user, if I want to find out which is the red dress or the green dress, I can just turn on my phone and ask AI which one is the red or green one. And I'm looking forward to seeing how companies like Be My Eyes, which I absolutely admire, and Good Maps and other companies who are already focused on accessibility as a technology are leveraging AI to improve what they're already doing, not necessarily just relying on AI, but using it as an augmentation.
Yeah, I think one of my fault stacks is that when I think of how AI can be used for accessibility, I think of how can it help me with document remediation. Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm very tunnel visioned, right?
Sure.
But I love what you just said. Like that is a very, very useful way that AI can be leveraged to help people, because that's actually something AI can do, right? Yeah. AI can evaluate an image or a photo, and you say, you know, which one of these is green, and it could say the one on the left, right? You know, and that I think is fantastic and very useful for people. Just to share with you, I also, a few months ago, I got a call from Be My Eyes, and the guy on the other end, he was trying to figure out which prescription was which. He was in his hotel and he had a couple of prescriptions. And I mean, God, like, it's frustrating for us too, right, Dax? Because here we are in 2026 and we're still giving people bottles of very important medication that they can only identify if they have sight.
I will push back a bit, because CVS was at CSUN last year.
Yeah.
And they have bottles. You could subscribe to this service and they give you a little reader. It's a little platform, and you take your bottle and you just set it on the reader, and the bottle will be recognized by the reader, and it will tell you what is in that bottle. So I think
that is super cool.
Yeah. And I think part of it is awareness, people just understanding what's out there. And, you know, not trying to put this gentleman in any kind of situation. Who knows? Maybe he didn't have that, or wasn't aware of it, or was in a hotel room where he didn't, you know, he's in a situation. He doesn't have that reader sitting with him. And so, you know, when we rely on technology, we become beholden to technology. And so, you know, it's be careful what you wish for kind of a situation, but luckily he had you to be able to help him through that. So that's a great thing. Yeah. So awesome. Final question here, looking forward to 2026. What is the conference that you are most looking forward to, for 2026?
Man, it's always tough to have to pick one, right? I mean,
well, I'll make it a little easier for you.
Okay.
You can separate it between online conference that you'll be speaking at, or in-person conference you'll be at.
Okay. I'm going to say probably CSUN.
Okay.
I'm going to say CSUN's the one I'm looking forward to. Yeah. Online, virtual only, I'm going to say the Design Accessibility Summit.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. David Blattner has been doing a fantastic job with that for the last 5 years or so.
Right.
And it's a fun one to do for us. You know, I really enjoy doing it. But I also think it's just, you know, my people are the accessibility people and the creative people.
Right.
And I just think it's so cool when you just blend the two together, you know, and we're all in the same space. I just think it's a fun event.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think for me, I'm speaking at Adobe Summit this year, which is a first time for me. I'm really excited to get to the C-suite level of audience to help them understand how to implement accessibility at scale, right? That is such a huge barrier right now. But I will say, from a travel standpoint, I'm excited for Creative Pro Week. Even though we don't have, it's not super forward focused on accessibility.
Yeah.
They've been incorporating more and more accessibility into Creative Pro Week. But this year, Creative Pro Week is in a place it has not been before, which is Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm excited to be able to go there and speak. And the people there are always so wonderful and amazing. And of course, online, the Creative Pro Design Accessibility Summit is always a favorite. You and I kind of workshopped through with David. He approached us and said, "Hey, do you think people would come if we did an online accessibility conference?" And boy, they have been coming every year, like super well attended. Honestly, if you can't travel, if you don't have a budget for travel, I implore you, I'm begging you, it is the one conference that is going to help your accessibility skill set more than any other conference you will go to in one place. There are 24 speakers across 3 days. It is absolutely an invaluable amount of resources that you get, both as handouts and recorded content. I just couldn't tell you to go enough. It is a bit of a price tag, and people say, oh, but it's an online conference. Just because it's online doesn't mean the hard costs aren't still there. They still pay speakers. They still have conference technical equipment that has to be done.
Audit, the AV guys, right? I mean, I think in some regards that for the AV guys, it's even harder than when it's in person.
Well, it's not just a Zoom. Here's your Zoom link. Go stand in this room. There's so much that goes behind it. And then there's live Q&A and the lunch and learns and all the things that go into it. What's so cool is as speakers, we get to be in the audience and on screen at the same time. So while people are asking questions in the audience about what we're talking about, in a normal situation, we wouldn't be able to answer that because we'd be on stage speaking. But here, we're able to actually fill in the gaps where maybe we didn't give enough information, or maybe there's an extra question we weren't thinking about. And it's such a unique experience that you don't see in a lot of other conferences, just because of the way it works. So I'm super excited. Looking forward to 2026 with lots of enthusiasm. And we've got some other stuff. If you haven't been to our new website, chaxtc.com, chaxtc.com, is up and running, and all of our online drop-in classes. If you want to go for a 3-hour drop-in class on a certain topic, definitely go check it out, because there's lots of really great content there. And we're always putting up new classes and new content, and you get the recordings and the handouts, and it's a live class, not a recorded one, by either you or I or one of our other instructors. And just a really great way to continually build your skill set. And they qualify for continuing education credits for your IAAP certification. So if you're ADS, CPAC, or even WAS, all of our classes qualify for 3 of those continuing education credits. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this discussion useful and interesting, and we're glad you joined us, and looking forward to seeing you again. My name's Chad Chelius.
And my name is Dax Castro, where every other week we unravel accessibility for you.
Thanks, guys.